Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Uncle Mad here, live on a Saturday morning to talk Nashville SC on what is a gloomy, pretty rainy day here in Nashville. I don't know if it's going to be picked up on the audio at all, but it is pouring down rain right here in Nashville right now. So, a good day for the boys in gold to be on the road and not playing a home match at Geo's Park because it would not be a fun day to sit out there and get soaking wet in stands unless we had another result like what we saw last week. That would be fun no matter what the weather. That's just obviously not Nashville SC, but somebody with the username Nashville SC in the chat saying, "Hey, Uncle Mad, what's up? Glad to have you here to talk a little bit about the boys in gold." We will be recapping the Chicago win from last week, talking a little bit about the upcoming match today against Atlanta United, the U.S. Open Cup match coming up Tuesday, and then a little bit of a look ahead to what I've got going on Nashville SC wise over the next week or so. So some stuff to get into when it comes to boys in gold. But before we get into the boys in gold themselves, I've got a quick kind of a channel update, channel announcement to make. I figure here on the live stream be the best time to kind of jump out and kind of do a little housekeeping and kind of share a change or alteration or something that I've been thinking about and then I've kind of decided to fully rip the band-aid off on. It's not that big a deal. I'm acting like there's going to be some kind of huge, it's literally the least important deal possible. So if you follow the channel closely, throughout this year, I kind of was going for a challenge of posting a video each day, kind of commemorating whatever the blah, blah, blah of the day was, National Blank Day, International Blank Day, what have you. Let me pull up what today's is. I'll tell you just as an example of what could have been for today. Today's Saturday, May the 3rd, 2025. It's Wordsmith Day, Kentucky Derby, Free Comic Book Day, which I will be participating in. There will be a Free Comic Book Day video coming up. National Paranormal Day, International Astronomy Day, and much more. So I did a pretty good job of this throughout the year so far. But the last month or so, I missed a couple days here and there, kind of dwindled because there's just a lot of these that are just not a cool thing, not an interesting thing. So it's like my work schedule's picked up, as my, refereeing schedule's picked up, as my, social life stuff, doing stuff with my wife has picked up. It just became like a thing where I was like, as crazy as it sounds, it became like a burden to film these dumb, minute and a half little videos of me being like, it's National Gummy Bear Day. Here I am, I'm eating a gummy bear. And on top of that, I could tell the content itself wasn't that good. It's just me for a minute and a half eating a gummy bears. Maybe I could find a way to make it funny, come up with a line, a little quirky line with it or something like that. But for the most part, just I was like, the more bad ones I do, the more uninteresting ones I do, the worse the content was going to become. So just, I think I've gone 4 days in a row now without doing it where I just came home. Like there was literally one day I was in bed this week, about to go to sleep. And I was like, oh crap, I didn't do the National Day video or whatever. And I looked up what the options were and they were just not interesting, not that entertaining. And I was just like, it's not worth it to roll out of bed at 10:30 at night and go film a minute long video that's going to be bad to begin with. So officially saying here, I am no longer, I mean, I already broke the streak, so it's broken, but I'm officially ending the National Blank of the Day video series. If there's a cool one, like today's Free Comic Book Day, if there's a cool one, I'll still post a few here and there as we go, but I'm just not gonna do one daily because it's just, I don't know. I think it's just putting content out for the sake of putting content. I'd rather actually put content out. I want to put content out if that makes sense. So that's kind of over. That's kind of donezo. Made it to May though. That's a pretty good run. I think this is usually about the time I kind of peter off on these challenges or year-long goals. I think what was it 2-3 years ago? I said no beer this year. Where I was, even though I'm not a drinker, I said I was going to take on the challenge of not drinking beer for a full calendar year, and I think I made it to late March, early April on that one. So springtime is when I seem to give up on my plans and just move back into doing the things that I always do anyway. So quick channel update, not that big a deal, but just to get it out there and make it official. No more regular, fully 365 days worth of National Blank of the Day videos, but will be some here and there still to come. Like I said, today's Free Comic Book Day. I'm going to go to the comic book store shortly after I wrap up this video, and I will do a quick little video recap of my experience for Free Comic Book Day. Looking forward to that. In the chat, we got a question. Do you like the Atlanta United Stadium? I think it's cool. Yeah, I've never, unfortunately, been able to go to a match at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in Atlanta. I've always wanted to go, whether it's, football, soccer, other events they've hosted there. But just the timing has never worked out for me. But I'll go there. I've, been at the stadium many times. I go to Atlanta quite a bit. But never been to a game there, but everything I've seen has looked awesome. It's a beautiful stadium from the outside. I've got friends that have been to games there who said it's one of the best they've ever been to. So it's definitely on my bucket list of stadiums that I definitely have to check out and get to see at some point in time. But unfortunately, hasn't happened yet. I'll get into it a little bit more because I actually was going to talk about this away day going down to Atlanta today for the boys in gold in a little bit. So when we get into the Atlanta conversation, I'll have a few more thoughts on the stadium and travel days, away days with the boys in gold. Miles Stump I can't read today. Stump in the comments. Come on, you boys in gold. Yep, that's what we're here to talk about. And there's no bigger Koi big than last week. The biggest win, score-wise at least, in terms of total goals in Nashville SC history. I believe that includes UPSL, NPSL, USL, RSL, DSL, XFL, any other leagues that any version of Nashville SC has ever been in. 7 goals scored by the boys in gold against Chicago Fire. Gave up 2 kind of crap ones in garbage time to kind of ruin a little bit of the fun. But, I mean, you can't ruin that match. You can't ruin the fun we had that day at Geodis Park. 2 main takeaways for the game. I think, obviously the biggest one, the one that's like the most, both of them I kind of would put in the kind of same category. Sam Surridge getting 4 goals. The big thing we've talked about a lot on here on the 615 Locker Room podcast, which I'll have an update about in just a second, is, that Sam Surridge, the team itself, is creating lots of chances, but just hasn't been finishing enough, hasn't been getting on the end of the scoring chances. Sam Surridge in particular was kind of one of the main culprits in that regard, where he had a high XG but low goal. I think he was like one of the highest negative return on XG of players in MLS coming into the match yesterday. But now with 4 goals to his name coming out of that match, he's like 1 or 2 goals off the Golden Boot race. So a lot can change in one match, obviously. And I think that was hopefully a sign of things to come for him. Hopefully that was a big confidence boost for him, to where now, instead of just constantly being on the end of chances and not finishing them, we're going to see him finish a lot more. Wouldn't expect him to score 4 goals in every single match, obviously, but getting a little rhythm, getting a little momentum, getting a little confidence can only be a good thing for him moving forward. So that was key number 1, big thing I had to take away from the match. Number 2, takeaway number 2, I think, is something we've seen a little bit of at other points this season, is BJ Callahan might be a coaching mental assassin when it comes to being able to pinpoint a weakness in the opposition team and go after it. Soccer, it's something I've always kind of been frustrated with as a soccer fan, is that I feel like, by and large, as a whole, teams don't really target their opponent's weaknesses as much. They don't really adjust their game plan based on their opponent as much in soccer as maybe you see in other sports. Most teams in soccer have their way of playing, kind of set up and try to do it game to game. You might play a little bit more defensive in some games than others, is kind of the biggest change you see teams do. But in terms of looking at an opponent and saying, this is that opponent's weakness, this is something we can exploit, and really going after it, I don't feel like you see teams do that in soccer too much. One that always gets me is if a defender, a fullback, a center back, even a holding midfielder got a yellow card, as a coach, I would just switch my entire attack to be we want everything to go at that player. We want to challenge that player. We want to make that player make decisions and potentially force them into a bad decision that would lead to a second yellow card. Don't see that happen that often in professional soccer, but a couple times this season and in this Chicago game, we've seen BJ Callahan say, hey, this is something we can exploit. This is something we can attack and go for it. And in this match, it was the fact that, particularly left back, I believe his name is Buttman, a guy who we at one point in time tried to bring to Nashville SC, kind of said, hey, that's a big mismatch that we can attack him with the speed of Jacob Schaffelberg with balls over the top. And that was what we did. We went over the top, long ball, long ball, long ball, and this Chicago had no answer for it. We got in behind them. They either had to foul us and create a penalty situation, or we got in behind them, crossed from the wide area, scored a goal, got over the top, just direct route 1 goals. I mean, it was over and over and over again, and Chicago never adjusted. I've been a big, supporter of Greg Berhalter. I've been Team Greg over the years, but he got, I don't know if it was stubbornness or it was just, what it was, but he got out coached today. The first time him and BJ Callahan went today. This was a week ago. First head-to-head matchup, BJ Callahan got the better of Greg Berhalter, out-coached him, out-schemed him, out-matched him, and really just demolished that Chicago team, and they just had no answer for it. And, I remember when I used to coach high school soccer, my teams that I coached, we rarely ever had a fully capable 11 that could, pass, possess really well. So we were often more of a counterattacking long ball team. And the fancy complete 47 passes before you score a goal. Teams would always be like, oh, all they're going to do is kick it long. All they're going to do is kick it long. And then we beat those teams like 4-0 and be like, yeah, we kicked it long over and over again and beat the crap out of you. Suck it. If kicking the ball long works, you do it all the time. It's when it doesn't work, when you're just lumping it forward, hoping for the best. That's where it can be not the best. But in this game, we knew we could get behind their back line with long balls over the top, and we just did it nonstop and scored 7 freaking goals. What a match. What a performance. I think it's, a lot of people were saying, oh, well, it's Chicago. Chicago's not very good. They've been a lot better this year than they have been in recent memory. Greg's got some good results for them so far this season, but it was not one today. This was pardon my French, but an ass kicking by Nashville SC. And it's definitely one we want to hope to build on, hope to continue the momentum. Don't want to kind of rest and say, hey, we've made it. We're the best team in MLS. We scored 7 goals. That's all we have to do. Because we got a good test coming up today with Atlanta. It's a very similar situation where it's almost the opposite of Chicago, where on paper, this Atlanta team should be a lot better than it is, and they are not very good. I want to say they've lost 4 games in a row, and they haven't scored in the last 3. And, some teams that would be expected in MLS. It's, a weird, wonky league. But Atlanta, big signing, brought back their guy, Miguel Almiron. Big signing, what is his name, Latte or whatever his name is. I believe, highest transfer fee ever paid in MLS history to bring him to Atlanta. So you got 2 huge attacking players there, and you've gone 3 games without scoring a goal. Brought in a new coach who had been a successful coach at some point in time in MLS. Seems like he's probably got to be on the hot seat based on their lackluster start to the season. If the boys in gold can get a win in Atlanta, are we going to be the coach killers once again, and he will get sacked? Ronnie Delia, I believe is his name. It's going to be interesting. I mean, a lot favors the boys in gold in this one, but I think I've seen a lot of stuff where people are looking at Atlanta going, at some point in time, it's going to click, it's going to come together, that they just have too much talent to continue to be as bad as they have been so far this season. And so certainly if you're looking at Nashville SC, you're certainly saying, hopefully this is not the match that it clicks, because we've seen that happen recently to Nashville SC. That's exactly what I think what you would say happened in the match against Seattle Sounders. They kind of had a rough start to the season, combination of injuries, schedule congestion from them being in CONCACAF Champions Cup. And we caught them when it seemed like they got healthy, they got fit, they got their bearings back, and they kind of whooped us. So, we don't want to be on the end of a get-right game for a team that's been struggling. And Atlanta's got, like I said, they've got the talent to turn it around, to get back to being one of the better teams in the league that I think most people probably expected them to be coming into the season. And we just got to hope that it's not today as the boys in gold make the trip down to Atlanta to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which we talked a little bit about earlier. I got to say, just this is not, match related. This is just general game related stuff here. This, for me personally, would have been arguably the ideal away day to make a trip down to Atlanta, to go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the first time for that matchup. I've been wanting to do more away days for Nashville SC. We did one a couple years back for a U.S. Open Cup match against Louisville. Awesome time, awesome experience. And this one would have been great because whenever I do go on these kind of road trips to see Nashville SC play, I want to try to find a way to not just go to the Nashville SC game, but to find other stuff to do to get my money's worth out of the trip, out of the travel. And I'm a big Braves fan. That's something I think is kind of known here on the channel. And I think just about every time Nashville SC has played in Atlanta, the Braves have been out of town. So I was always like, man, it'd be great if Atlanta United hosted Nashville SC at the same time the Braves had a homestand during the weekend. This weekend, the Braves are at home, and they're at home against the Dodgers, which would be a great matchup to go see. Freddie Freeman and the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani coming into town. I'm sure ticket prices would have been insane for it, but unfortunately, I've mentioned this a few times here on the channel, here and there. Next week, 1 week from today, I will be on a plane to Mexico. So the financials and the logistics of doing a trip to Atlanta this weekend and then going to Mexico next week, we just the stars did not align on this one, even though it would have been a fabulous weekend to go down for some soccer and some baseball to Atlanta. So I've got Cincinnati and the St. Louis away days kind of earmarked as a potential hopeful, maybe later in the season away day that we could do. But my schedule is always so crazy. I rarely ever know what I'm doing 2 days down the line. That's one of the reasons these live streams kind of bounce around. It's one of the reasons, as crazy it sounds, that I gave up on doing the little minute and 30-second like highlight videos of today's the National Gummy Bear Day, just because I don't know what I'm doing from day to day most of the time. So it's really hard for me to do long-term planning and find opportunities to do stuff like that. So if the stars align, I'd like to get in a Nashville, at least one Nashville SC away day at some point this season. Did not work out for this Atlanta one, as cool as that would have been, as awesome and fun as it would have been. But just in case my wife is watching, I'm not complaining. I'm very excited that we're going to Mexico. I've been, I love our trips down there. It'll be good for the channel because we've been, honestly, I love doing Nashville SC content, but I also like that this channel kind of can do whatever it wants. And I think we've been a little heavy on Nashville SC content lately. So looking forward to have something to break that up a little bit with our Mexico vacation vlogs that'll be coming up soon. Yeah, so good match for Atlanta today. A little afternoon kickoff again. I love these kind of afternoon kickoffs. They're pretty cool because originally I'm supposed to referee a game tonight at like 7 o'clock, so I thought I wasn't going to get to watch the match live. I don't know if that match is still going to happen because it's pouring down rain here in Nashville. It got moved to a turf field, so that probably ups the chances of it happening. But yeah, I was thinking I was not going to get to watch the match live, but then lo and behold, my dad called me and was like, "Hey, so they got the afternoon kickoff tomorrow, right?" My dad, more in tune with Nashville SC than me. I was like, "What?" And I looked at the schedule. It was like 1:45 local time kickoff. I was like, "Sweet, afternoon game. I'll actually get to watch the match today." So looking forward to that. It should be a good game. Hopefully we can build on what happened last week, and hopefully we are not the get-right opponent for Atlanta. Certainly it would be a disappointing result there. But the next match the boys in gold have coming up is Tuesday night at Geos Park. U.S. Open Cup action returns. We host boys from just down the road, the Chattanooga Red Wolves. What a match that's going to be. Excited for Nashville SC to be back in U.S. Open Cup. It was kind of disappointing for that competition to be kind of put on the back burner there last season. And, because it always feels like a competition that Nashville SC probably could have a sniff at winning, maybe more so than MLS Cup, because, anytime it's just a one-off knockout competition, when you have a solid team, you feel like you could win anything, as opposed to, MLS where it's a long season and you got the playoffs where it's multi-leg games and things like that. It always kind of feels like the cream might rise to the top in those situations. And I don't know that Nashville, as good as we've been, as high as we've been at points, I don't know that we've ever necessarily been the cream of the league. I certainly would say we probably have not been. But, you look at here, Leagues Cup final, the first iteration of the Leagues Cup, that was a great example of how you just string together a good roll of momentum and some knockout matches. Anything can happen. It's disappointing that the U.S. Open Cup is still not kind of back up to full strength. There's only a handful of MLS teams involved this season. Kind of losing the history and the heritage of just that every team in U.S. soccer had the chance to be involved in it. But on the silver linings, bright side, that does increase Nashville SC's chances of lifting the trophy at the end of the competitions. I believe they kind of like broke up the teams in the competitions this season by rankings from last season. So the top teams from last season in MLS all were in CONCACAF Champions Cup. The next kind of level down were in Leagues Cup, and then the kind of bottom of the barrel, which Nashville SC was in, unfortunately ended up in Open Cup. So, if you think of who's in the U.S. Open Cup, based on performance, let me pull it up right now. I kind of want to pull it up just to kind of see on form where Nashville SC stacks up. Who else in the Open Cup looks like they could be conditioned? I got to think, of the bad teams from last year who got into the U.S. Open Cup. Nashville SC has got to be one of the ones that's kind of in the best form this season. So let's see who we got. Where is the bracket? Can I find a bracket? Open Cup schedule. This is great video content. Me just looking at my phone. All right, so we're into the round of 16. Here we go. Round of 32. Is that where we're at right now? Yeah, round of 32. All right, so we got Charlotte. They got to win against the Star Eddie this year. They've had a decent start to their season, so that's a tough team. DC United, they've not been great. I think they kind of had a dip down this year. They've been a little bit of a struggle bus this year. Yeah, they're down in 13th right now. So, Red Bull New York, another team that's already beat us this season, but kind of a little up and down there. I'd like to get a chance at them again, because I think we're a little bit of a better team right now than when we played them earlier in the season. Portland Timbers, we kind of waxed them earlier in the season, but they're kind of the opposite. We're much like us. They're kind of seeming like they're kind of getting it together now. New England, they're kind of whatever. They're dwindling around 10th, it looks like. Minnesota United, decent season for them. They're pretty solid, kind of right around top 5 in the West. So, I mean, there's better teams in this than what I was thinking. Orlando, they've been okay. That's another one. Looking at the Atlanta game, but Orlando was on like a 3-game streak of not scoring a goal, and then they beat the crap out of Atlanta, won 3-0. So, I mean, that kind of shows you where Atlanta is right now, that a team that was struggling, hadn't scored in 3 games, comes in and hangs 3 on them, and now Atlanta goes 3 games to that one. Fire, who we just demolished, they're in this. There's actually more teams. I thought there was only like 8 MLS teams, but there's a lot. St. Louis, Dallas, Austin FC, they've been okay this season. San Jose Earthquakes been a little bit better with Bruce Arena at the helm. So there's some good teams. It's not like it's going to be a cakewalk for Nashville SC to win this competition. But you even listen out all those teams, there's not one team in that list that I would like definitively say, hey, X is better than Nashville SC. I think we're all kind of, either much worse than Nashville SC or kind of on the same level as Nashville SC. So US Open Cup should be a good opportunity for Nashville SC to, do some damage and potentially get a bit of silverware finally in the trophy cabinet, which we have not unfortunately received yet in our MLS history. So it'd be a fun night out Tuesday night. I mean, Charlotte, goodness gracious. Chattanooga Red Wolves are not a high level team, good on them to make it to this point in the competition. But I think the expectation for that match should be a very convincing, very comfortable Nashville SC victory. I mean, it'll depend on really what BJ does lineup wise. Does he really, full rotation, rest a ton of guys, or is it there will be some rotation. I'm sure we'll see some Huntsville and Academy players come into at least the squad, if not the starting lineup. That feels like it's got a Taylor Washington start written all over it. I would think we'd see Brian Schweck, the backup goalkeeper, probably come in. A few other chops and changes players, be a good maybe opportunity for Brian Acosta to get a start and kind of get some match fitness. Teal Bunbury, does he come in? It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much rotation we get in that match. But either way, it should be a pretty comfortable win for Nashville SC. I've seen some people say if Charlotte, golly, I got Charlotte on the brain. If Chattanooga somehow pulled the upset there, it would be one of the most shocking upsets in U.S. Open Cup history from, the tier where they're at in the pyramid to where Nashville SC is. So should be a fun night out at Geodis Park, though. I mean, those games are always interesting. It's always, for all the people who champion the cup and say like, oh, we got to save the U.S. Open Cup. And then there might be 5,000 people at Geodis Park on Tuesday night. So, that people don't tend to put their money where their mouth is, where they're like, we got to save the U.S. Open Cup, and then they don't show up. So we'll be there. I think nothing is officially set in stone yet, but tentatively me and my group of friends are planning to once again switch over and sit in the club section, because that is a small little bonus that comes with the U.S. Open Cup matches, is that the tickets over there are much cheaper than they are even we've lucked out this season. We've gotten, every time we switched to club this season, we've got in for under $100, and I would expect that to be even far less for the Open Cup match. I think last time we had an Open Cup match at home, I believe it was, I want to say either Orlando or Atlanta, like 2-3 years ago, whatever it was. We got club seats for like $60, which that's all inclusive food, all inclusive beverage for $60. So that's tentatively our plan for this Open Cup match coming up on Tuesday. So could be another cool vlog of all the fun things that come with sitting in the club section. Kind of programming alerts, programming updates for coming up after that. That will be my last Nashville SC match day vlog for quite a while, because, as I mentioned, this time next week, I will be making my way down to Mexico for a lovely vacation at an all-inclusive resort with my beautiful wife, Jesta. And the scheduling gods, they pulled one over us on us this one, because we booked this vacation, well in advance of the MLS schedule being released. And so, of course, the week we picked out to go on vacation, Nashville SC has 3 home matches at Geodis Park in that week. Next Saturday, the day we fly to Mexico, May the 10th, home match. Midweek, the Wednesday of that week, home match. The following Saturday, the day we fly back, home match. So I am missing 3 straight home matches, but all in 1 week. So it's not like I'm just abandoning the team and missing them for like a month or something like that. 3 straight home matches where I'll be missing. So unfortunately, no game day vlogs coming from any of those matches, but I believe we have one right at the end of May, Saturday, May 31st. I want to say, maybe look at my schedule real quick, my calendar. I will be back for that one. So the craziest month of home matches ever. I'm missing 3 out of like the 4 of them. But yeah, May 31st, Nashville SC host New York City FC. I will be back for that match. I'll still check in, be watching the matches, maybe posting some updates to social media and stuff like that. If you don't follow me on social media, I'm on all the sites, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. I'm everywhere. All the links are in the description of all my videos down below if you want to follow me along there, see if I can post any other updates. Might pop on, do a quick live update down from Mexico on what's going on with the boys in gold there. But one thing I likely almost definitely will not be doing while I'm down there is the 615 Locker Room podcast, new Nashville sports-centric, kind of pop culture, a little bit of everything podcast I started with fellow Nashville SC content creator Wormy. I just think it's going to be too hard to work around my time in Mexico. And I think Jesta might literally leave me in Mexico and have me thrown in Mexican prison if I were to step away to record a podcast while we're on this awesome vacation together. So I won't be appearing on the 615 Locker Room podcast during that week. We did not get one out this week. As I've mentioned several times throughout this video, just my life is hectic and crazy. And, scheduling is always a challenge. And just the stars did not align this week for us to be able to get together and do a podcast. So apologies for that for anybody that's been following along, watching and listening to that show. Missed this week, and Wormy said he might try to do some live streams, some watch-alongs, or get some special guests on there. So subscribe to the channel for 615 Locker Room, either on Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you can find your podcast to check out what may or may not be coming up there. But towards the end of the month, once I'm back from vacation, once we get through this little stretch here, we'll be coming back pretty strong with more episodes over there. It's been a lot of fun doing that show with him. It's a lot of fun, not just being me sitting here on an island talking to the camera by myself. Having another person to chat with has been a fun experience working with Wormy there. So check that out if you have not done so already. There'll be a lot more great content coming over on that channel in the not too distant future. But we're going to wrap up here. I got to get to the comic book store to collect my free comic books here on Free Comic Book Day. Like I said, I'll put out a quick little video recapping that here at some point in time on the channel. And then the boys in gold take on Atlanta United, 1:45 kickoff time. Should be a fun match here coming up later on this afternoon. Can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to see the boys in gold. Hopefully we can build on the momentum coming off the Chicago game and get another 3 points in the, I should say 3 points in the win column, but you get just 3 points in the points column. Sometimes I talk faster than my brain can compensate. I don't even know if that sentence made sense, but thanks for everybody who's tuned in. If you're watching this live, you're watching the replay, appreciate all the support. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell for notifications so you never miss any content, whether live or otherwise. Come on, you boys in gold. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your bagels.